In the hush of dawn, where nature awakens in whispers and shadows, a timeless tradition unfolds. The hunt sparks intense debate and fascination. From tranquil greenery to the digital realms of Instagram stars, we delve into the evolving world of hunting. Hunting. Once, it was an elitist tradition for old men. Today, many see it as a hobby, spending time in nature. A new generation is on the prowl, on the road with hunters and the hunted, between trophies, cold stores, and the next shot. 4:30 a.m. in the north of Germany. Gerold and Paul Reilmann head to their hunting grounds. Known as the Hunter Brothers on social media, both are in their mid-20s. Hunting is their life.
Right now, we're driving into our hunting grounds, our parents' woods. We're hoping to find a buck or maybe a wild boar.
In Germany, hunting is only permitted in designated areas known as hunting districts, regulated by the Federal Hunting Act. On private land, the owner decides whether hunting is permitted.
The weather's perfect today. It's not too cold, and it's dry, so I'd say our chances are good.
At dawn, the game comes to the meadows to browse. Headlights are turned off so as not to startle any animals. Being a hunter means being inconspicuous. Paul and Gerold split up.
Good luck. Good hunting.
Rifles and binoculars are part of the basic equipment, along with camouflage clothing. The eye-catching cap is worn for safety and has a signaling effect for other hunters. Wild animals cannot see orange, but they can see blue, making blue a poor choice for hunters.
There's a buck. Very impressive. There's a buck over there, but he's seen us.
While hard to spot for the layman, a hunter can see it from afar. The buck is standing center stage. Gerold Reilmann uses a silencer. This has been permitted for a few years. It reduces the muzzle blast, allowing the hunter to do without bothersome hearing protection.
We have to go up to the high seat now.
A high seat is the most common place for a hunter to hide. It's the ideal observation post, without being noticed by the game at all. Patience and warm clothing are a must. After all, you can't shoot straight when you're freezing. The hunter observes the animal and assesses it. Gerold is not sure whether he's allowed to shoot the buck he has spotted.
If a buck is too young, or if it's young and very strong for its age, you shouldn't hunt a buck like that. I'll have to take a look through the rifle. It has a larger magnification. So I think we could shoot him when he comes out.
The buck doesn't come any closer, and at this distance Gerold can't make a clean shot. The awakening forest is ample compensation for the missed prey.
I just love it here in May. When you're out in the morning and nature wakes up around you, you hear the birds chirping. It's just wonderful.
There's not much else going on in this clearing. No game far and wide, and the buck has disappeared. Gerold decides to leave the high seat.
Paul.
Good morning.
Guten Morgen.
I really chose the wrong place this morning.
You didn't wait long enough.
denke ich. Nee, das Ding ist
The wind has been blowing that way the entire time.
Okay.
All right, let's have another go.
Neuen Angriff. Ja.
Hunting is a tradition and a trend in Germany. The German Hunting Association has some 400,000 hunters. The number has been rising steadily for years. Only around 1,000 of them hunt for a living. The rest hunt part-time or as a hobby. The lucky ones own their own hunting grounds, like the two Heilmann brothers.
Unser Papa ist Jäger, unsere Onkels
Our
sind
dad's a
alle-
hunter, our uncles are all hunters. It's in our blood.
Und
We've been going into the forest with Dad for as long as we can remember. We've done it all from an early age, and we learned from him. And when we were able to start doing more on our own, we became even more passionate about it.
Exactly.
wir haben dann beide relativ
We both got our hunting licenses relatively early, as early as possible, doing the course at 15 and getting our licenses on our 16th birthday.
Seitdem sind wir eigentlich
And we've been hunting ever since.
und haben dann irgendwann
At some point, we started to do it more professionally, and now it's our job.
Und jetzt ist unser Beruf.
The brothers are hunting in the family forest. Gerold hasn't bagged anything at the high seat today. A stalk through the hunting grounds should bring him some prey. A hunter's success depends on the wind direction. The rule of thumb? A headwind is good and a tailwind is bad. With their keen sense of smell, game can scent humans immediately. Loud noises like stepping onto dry leaves will also startle the animals. Something is moving in the undergrowth. Gerold takes a shot. The aim is to bring down the game as quickly as possible. The Federal Hunting Act even stipulates how fast. 2,000 joules of impact energy at 100 meters.
Das muss jetzt ganz schnell gehen.
It had to happen quickly.
Also da unten
There was a
waren
herd of
die
fallow
Dammel.
deer down there.
Da wollte ich ganz gerne ein Schmaltier drauf.
At first, I wanted to bag a smaller deer from the herd for the kitchen, but then suddenly, a very weak buck appeared right in front of us.
Ein ganz schwacher Bock auf. Also ein Rehbock, der für
It
sein
was a
Alter
bit too weak for its age,
und
and it stood there in a perfect
der
spot,
verhoffte dann da hinten auf einer Lücke
and I
noch
was able to take aim. And the buck went down.
die Kugel antragen. Und der
That
Bock
worked
liegt.
out quite well.
Das hat ganz gut geklappt jetzt.
Instead of a hind calf, Gerold scored a buck. Hind calves are young females of the red deer, fallow deer, and sika deer species. They have not yet calved. Once the hunter has made sure that the animal is dead, he unloads his weapon for safety reasons.
Man hat den Leben genommen.
The life's been taken. You don't need to tell yourself that it was ill or suffering or something like that. No, we simply culled an animal from the herd. We've made sure there aren't too many deer. You have to know why you're doing it. We can only have a certain number of animals in this forest. If there are too many, then it's not good for the forest, and it's bad for the animals as well, because they get sick. We've just killed a yearling buck here that weighs around 12 kilos. That's prime meat. It suffered no stress. He walked through the forest this morning and suddenly dropped dead. Now I'm looking forward to it going into the fridge and then later into the kitchen, because it's simply the best thing you can eat.
Blood from the nose indicates that the heart and lungs have been hit, a sign of a quick and painless death. Now, the only thing missing is the break symbol, or Bruch. It's an old hunter's tradition and code of honor, showing respect for the animal they have killed.
Das ist Tradition, die Bruchübergabe.
It's tradition, the handing over of the branch. The first one is called the last bite, a twig that you put in the animal's mouth. It's a sign of respect. You place a second twig on the wound to claim possession.
Aus der Tradition heraus soll anderen Jägern
It's to show other hunters in the forest who might stumble across the animal that I've shot it, and I've already found it, and I'll come back later to collect it. And then there's the third branch.
Legerbruch.
Good hunting.
Thank you. You put it on your hat, or in my case, on my cap. And it shows the other hunters that I've been successful, and that I've had a good hunt today.
Anyone who wants to hunt in Germany must have a hunting license. According to the Federal Hunting Act, it requires a minimum age of 15 years, a police clearance certificate, and mental and physical aptitude. Training to become a hunter includes intensive theory, weapons training, and shooting practice. Like here at the Fuchsbau Hunting School in North Rhine-Westphalia. Today's target for the shooters, clay pigeons. Katrin Knappheide keeps a watchful eye on her students. She's the founder of the hunting school and is a passionate hunter herself. Shooting is a skill that needs to be constantly honed.
The better you shoot, the more accurate your hunting will be. That's why you shouldn't stop practicing after the test. You should visit the shooting range regularly to keep your shooting skills fresh. During the test, everyone gets 15 pigeons and they take turns while shooting. They have to hit 5 pigeons to pass the test. That's something you have to train for.
Everyone ready? Open fire.
I hit 12 out of 15 pigeons. It'll be a challenge to bag my first animal, but I'm excited.
Shooting instructor Thomas Welle moves on to the next stand. Here, his students shoot at deer made of cardboard. Aspiring hunter Christoph Dapa has an office job and is working to get his hunting license in his spare time.
Front and rear shooting fields clear.
The gun's not quite in firing position. Check that. Move forward a little. It's important to not leave the shooting position immediately. You need to stay in the shot. That's also important for hunting later on. There's a tendency to pull back the moment you've pulled the trigger, so always keep your weight forward, hold the posture, and give yourself a second. That's part of the shot.
Now it's time to reload.
The wooden post is used to support the rifle, ensuring a safe shot.
I wouldn't call it fun. Hunting involves a lot more than shooting.
We always try to formulate this carefully when talking about fun. The whole hobby is fun, of course. That's what we live for, it's our passion. But it's dangerous to talk about shooting as fun because one could quickly get the impression that I enjoy killing. And that's not what hunting is about. 46 points, so of course he passed. He could easily have afforded a bad shot or two. He stands well, he's calm. Great shot, great result.
Back with the Hunter brothers. Hunting is not only a hobby for Paul and Gerold Reilmann. It's a passion and a source of income. Over 80,000 fans on Instagram follow what the brothers shoot in the woods and fields every day. And that brings in sponsorship money. The two are the faces and brand ambassadors for manufacturers of hunting gear. Gerold shot a buck today. Paul takes pictures and videos for the Hunter Brothers channel. The two of them have to make sure that the photos aren't too brutal. Instagram won't allow it.
Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook have strict regulations about what you can and cannot show. It's not forbidden to show meat, but you're not allowed to show blood. And I think that's another thing that's alienating people because it should be perfectly normal. You look at Instagram all the time and see how fish is fried, how steak is cut and fried. That's all completely fine. But if I haven't cut up the piece of meat yet, if it's still a whole animal, then suddenly it's no longer okay. Then Instagram tags it as glorifying violence. But I disagree. That's not glorifying violence. It's exactly the opposite. It's food in its purest form. And the fact that we're no longer allowed to show it publicly is really frightening. Because how is a child supposed to know that a sausage was made from a pig if it has never seen this anywhere, if this cannot be shown at all? Here's to the buck.
And here's to you.
You sure picked a special one today.
Yes, I did.
To kick off the hunting year. A nice yearling. Wow, good job. I'm going to grab the buck and put it in the car.
And I'll bring my rifle and shooting stick.
The buck must now go into the cold store as quickly as possible. Another deer, a female, is already in the car.
I'm curious. I think my doe is a bit weaker than your buck. I bagged it about an hour ago. I shot this doe when I was in the blind. It appeared with a buck that was about the same size as this one, but in an area in the hunting grounds where he is allowed to grow older. So 2 deer in 1 morning. Perfect.
Should we put the rifle away?
No, we still need it. All right, let's drive to the next spot.
Gamekeeping is a part of hunting as well. It means looking after your game. Also, after the animals that aren't hunted. Paul and Gerold regularly put out salt. The plants that animals feed on to replenish their salt balance are becoming increasingly rare, and they contain less minerals due to the lack of salt in the soil. That's why salt crystals are used to provide the game with minerals. Paul tracks the population in the hunting ground using wildlife cameras with motion sensors.
It's cool. You hang the cameras on the trees, leave them there for 4 weeks, and animals come up to them not even realizing that they're being watched. And sooner or later, I'll have a nice overview of who's living in my forest.
Caring for game and observing the wildlife populations are important parts of being a hunter. And yet, the shooting of animals is polarizing. Is hunting really necessary? Peter Höfken is an animal rights activist with PETA. For him, hunting, or at least hunting as a leisure activity, should be completely abolished.
When you look at hunters' high seats, it's pretty obvious that hunters aren't sitting there teary-eyed about killing an animal. It's all about the thrill. And you can hear that in conversations when they talk about their passion. Sometimes they even admit it quite openly. But when it comes up at official events, other reasons are put forward as to why it's necessary to decimate entire groups of animals.
Animal rights activists and hunters are usually irreconcilably opposed to one another. Fundamentally different beliefs about animal welfare and ecology make it difficult to find common ground.
The aim of hunting is to kill innocent creatures, often in a very violent and cruel way, for the sake of a hobby, purely for fun. I believe that animals don't exist for our pleasure, for us to eat them or to wear their skins. They're part of the environment and belong in the world, just like humans.
Animal welfare concerns are not deterring students at the Fuchsbau Hunting School from their plans. They want to get their green diploma, which is how hunters refer to the hunting exam. It's state approved and consists of 3 parts: a shooting test, a written exam, and an oral exam. The theory part includes game and animal biology.
They usually lay 4 eggs. What do the woodcock's eggs look like? Does anyone know?
Brown, speckled?
Yes, brown and speckled. The eggs are beige with brown speckles.
Game diseases, hunting law, animal welfare, weaponry, dogs are all part of hunting theory. Sven Römer has an office job in Bochum and finds acquiring the extensive knowledge needed for hunting to be a challenge.
A lot of input. This is probably the toughest exam I've taken so far. Also in terms of the material, especially in such a short time, but it's a lot of fun and interesting.
Katrin Knappheide has been training aspiring hunters for several years. The falconer and dog handler has been hunting herself for over a decade.
Is there anything more rewarding than sharing your passion with others? Not really. That's what makes it so great. And we don't just want our students to pass the exam. Of course, that's the main goal, but we also want to impart something valuable. We want to instill a certain ethic, morals to encourage people to think about their behavior so that we can make sustainable use of nature in our cultural landscape. There are teachers in our courses, fathers and mothers, so really there's no one type of hunter. We have people from the city, from the country, from everywhere. Let's go back to the antlers for a moment. What do we have here?
Narrow antlers.
Narrow skewers, why?
Because of the burrs.
Because he has burrs. What do we have here?
A buck.
Yes, a buck. What would we call it?
6-point.
Yes, and these knobs on it, what do we call these?
The pearls.
That's the pearls, exactly. And this here?
The burrs.
Are these the burrs or the pedicles?
The burrs.
And the pedicles?
They're under there.
That's right, they're here. Animals are part of my life. I have 2 dogs, we have birds of prey at home, I have ferrets too. I love my animals, of course. But I love animals in general. When I look out of the window and see the rabbits hopping across the field, it makes me happy. Animals are part of my well-being.
Students can complete their hunting training with Katrin Knappheide in several months, or in a 2.5-week intensive course.
Students are tested for 15 to 20 minutes per subject area. There are 5 subject areas, that's quite a lot of questions. And in the written exam, there's a list of 2,516 questions. They have to be able to answer these questions because 100 of them will be selected at random. That's a lot of material.
And a score of 75% only gets you a D, so you can't just get 50 of 100 right.
No, I'll put it this way. You need a perfect score to get an A.
Nearly 500,000 people in Germany have a hunting license. According to the German Hunting Association, they come from the middle of society. Around 20% work in service professions, 11% are tradespeople, 14% are school children and students. And hunting has long since ceased to be a male domain. The proportion of women at hunting schools is increasing. More and more women are enthusiastic about experiencing nature in this special way, protecting the forest and harvesting game. Felicitas Schauer is one of them. She's 24 years old, a part-time Bavarian hunting queen, and a full-time mortician. Felicitas says these jobs complement each other well.
We work 24/7. There's never a moment when I'm off duty because you can't plan for death. That means I'm always on call, I have to make lots of phone calls during the day, and I talk to a lot of people. So when I go out in the evening and can enjoy some peace and quiet, just listen to myself, that's a wonderful feeling.
Felicitas has had her hunting license since 2017 and has been a representative of the Bavarian Hunting Association since 2022. She finds traces of game everywhere in her hunting ground, where it has walked and where it has nibbled on leaves.
Right next to me, you can see a path. It's a game trail, the deer go there. When a deer goes to its hiding place, it always takes the same way, so it looks like a beaten track. I don't want to step on it, it's the deer's path, so I walk alongside. The browsing assessment happens every few years. We look at how much the deer are eating the young trees, and we base our hunting quota on it. How many roe deer do we have to shoot? If we don't have much browsing, we're going to shoot fewer roe deer, and if there's severe browsing, we have to shoot more of them. It's for the logging industry, we have to check if the trees are nibbled at, especially the main shoot, because then they spread out. And that makes them worthless for the timber companies. We have to pay attention to that.
In order to avoid too much browsing, the authorities stipulate a shooting plan every year. It determines how much game the hunters must shoot in each hunting ground.
I really like this task, looking for traces, spending my time like this, because then I know that my game is doing well. I still have game, and that's exactly what I want. Hunting is a way of life and a philosophy. You have to give a piece of your personality and of your life to do it. If you're not ready to do that, or you just don't want to, if you want to continue living the life you're used to, and just want to do it a bit on the side, then it's not the right thing for you. You have to be in tune with nature. For me, the forest and nature feels like home. They're a refuge when life is too much. It's everything to me, because it gives me back my peace and contentment.
Everything in Felicitas' parental home revolves around hunting. She discovered her own passion for hunting as a child. She was introduced to nature and the forest, and also to hunting, when her mother obtained her hunting license and took her to the high seat without further ado. Today, the whole family hunts in their leased forest.
At the beginning, you sit outside with a hunter to get to know what it's like. And I was already taking Feli with me very early, maybe not always voluntarily, but I couldn't leave her home alone when she was 5, 6, or 7 years old. So she had to come with me. And I think that was when she became interested in hunting. Especially when a rabbit would hop right by the blind, or a deer right beneath it. It's great for children to experience animals so closely without being noticed.
So it's not surprising that Felicitas feels most at home here, in the middle of nature. According to latest studies, as a hunter, she's following in the footsteps of Stone Age women. It looks like our female ancestors did not stay behind in caves, looking after the children, as the cliché often suggests. They also went hunting. And while that was a long time ago, women continue to be fascinated by hunting today.
Every perch has a different lightness, a different beauty to offer. Every day is different. I really love it. I enjoy coming out here into the wild and taking a deep breath, finding myself again and just watching. It's wonderful. And if you look over there, you can see a deer in the cover. Over there is something reddish. This is a buck that's going to stay because he has excellent genes that he should pass on. He's also a really good game animal, which means he has a lot of muscle and a lot of meat to offer. We don't hunt animals like this one.
This buck should reproduce for a strong and healthy population in the forest. Felicitas' father is also a hunter, like everyone in the Schauer family. Adjacent to the garage, the family has set up what is known as a dismembering chamber. That is the hunter's term for the butchering process. After skinning the animal, they cut it into inner fillets, back, forelegs, and neck. Dismembering, as they put it.
Feli, look. This is where I have to be really careful. Do you see this part here where it's attached to the meat? If I were to just rip it off here, I'd damage the meat. So instead, I'm trying to loosen it with a light hand, keeping the knife close to the meat and the skin. See, this is a good example. I'll cut this off. If I had ripped it off, the meat would have been damaged, and we wouldn't want that to happen. You kill it, you respect it, and proper dismemberment is part of that. I'm only really satisfied when it's in the vacuum pack and then on the table. If you want to feel satisfied, you have to do the work. And here's the second shoulder.
The Bavarian hunter queen and her family are serving wild boar in the form of Leberkäse today. Their family butcher has prepared it, and all Felicitas had to do was put it in the oven. Lunch among hunters.
That's the first wild boar we've shot in a year.
That's why it's going down so well. There's been nothing in the call since then.
Nothing at all. A meal fit for a king.
City hunter Hans-Jürgen Chuppe is also on the hunt for a meal fit for a king. He's on a nighttime mission to hunt wild boar outside Berlin. At his side, Dachshund Kinta. Experts believe some 5,000 wild boar are living in Berlin. Packs of wild boar move from the forests of Brandenburg to the outskirts of the capital. They have no natural enemies here.
We have a huge problem in our cultural landscape today. Nature no longer regulates itself. We have deer, wild boars, roe deer, and many other animals that are perfectly adapted to reproduce under today's conditions. This means we have to regulate the populations, and for that, we need hunters.
Wild boar hunting is night hunting. They're rarely seen during the day, particularly in urban areas. Berlin's hunters kill around 2,500 wild boars every year.
There are around 40 or 50 wild boars in my hunting grounds. Some of them can also be found in other hunting grounds. They are often on the move and not tied to any one place. Sometimes they travel 10 or 20 kilometers during a single night.
Wild boars are particularly unpopular with farmers. They can destroy entire fields of corn in a single night while searching for food. They rampage through the yards and gardens in the suburbs. And they are a danger to road traffic. Hunter Chuppe has tracked down an animal.
So, Kinder, komm. Na, hier suchen. Komm her.
Very good.
Na, fein.
If wild boars feel threatened, they can also attack, and they're dangerous. They're fast, strong, and have sharp teeth.
One boar really came after me. The dog held him off for a bit, but it took 2 shots before I was able to drop him just 3 meters away from me. It's only a matter of seconds, and you have to act very quickly. The hunter who accompanied me with a rifle and was supposed to cover me didn't even have the weapon in his hand. These are experiences that shape you and make you cautious. And they repeatedly remind you just how well wild animals can defend themselves. Wild boars aren't pushovers. We've got animals here weighing over 100 kilos, and when they get going, you don't stand a chance.
The hunt lasted 3 hours, but that's not the end of the city hunter's work.
After it has been shot, the wild boar is skinned and then dismembered, and we offer the meat to the public. Many people know who we are, and they even place orders. A friend next door, you might say. Relatives and acquaintances who know that they can purchase game from a hunter.
At at home with the Hunter brothers in the rural north of Germany. The whole house is full of trophies and mementos of hunting trips. Gerhard no longer lives here, so his childhood room now serves as their office.
This is our Hunter Brothers headquarters. It's where we edit our films. We also like to sit here in the evenings sometimes.
The brothers make a living from their YouTube videos and Instagram posts about hunting.
We often capture wolves on our wildlife cameras here. There are many, many of them in our region. Wild boars as well.
They produce these films themselves, showing the beauty of nature, as well as the stark truth about hunting.
We were stalking across a meadow and suddenly a buck was right in front of us. A very good buck. I think he has good burrs. Let's head over.
The brothers get thousands of likes for videos like this one.
Oh yes, it was the right decision to shoot the buck. He's got a big head. That's a great buck. Perfect. So basically a forkhorn. Super buck, and if you look at the buck's head, you can see that he's old. The burrs are down low, and the head is broad. An ice grey face. That's the way you want it.
Good hunting.
It's crazy. I'd say the buck is 7 years old. Look here, the incisors.
Can you see anything at the back?
Well, that's always difficult. But I'd say it was definitely the right decision to shoot the buck. Very, very happy. A successful end to the morning stalk, I'd say.
However, not all of the feedback that the brothers receive is positive. They also get a lot of criticism from animal rights activists, even to the point of open hatred.
As a hunter, you take great care not to cause the animal any distress. But it can happen because you make human mistakes, or something is wrong with your equipment. I mean, a shot like that. You hit some branch in the woods and a bullet is deflected, and you've wounded the animal. Of course, you can make sure that you never shoot when there are branches in the way, but the day will come when there's a branch somewhere that you didn't see, and then it can happen that you shoot off an animal's leg, that you wound it somehow, and then the animal suffers, and that's something that is terrible for any hunter. And everyone does everything they can to prevent it.
After the shot, the so-called tracking work begins. Was the shot fatal? Yes, a shot in the heart. A shot in the heart or lungs kills the animal immediately.
There's no way to deny that hunting kills animals. But we know that what we're doing is right. Because the population is growing so quickly here in this region, we can't rely on it being regulated by diseases and large predators. So we have to regulate populations ourselves by shooting game. Anyone who believes that nature should regulate itself through diseases and parasites, they're actually the ones who would mistreat animals.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But that's precisely the argument put forward by animal welfare activists. They say that nature sorts itself out, including through weather conditions and the availability of food.
Epidemics, for example, are also bad for wild animals. But the law of nature means that the strongest animals continue to reproduce and the sick ones die. The sick animals may be killed by a predator. But when hunters intervene and say, OK, we'll shoot animals, they don't just kill the sick animals. Hunters go for the healthy animals, the beautiful animals with healthy fur and great antlers. That's what hunters are really after.
The Hunter brothers are certainly proud of their trophies.
Let's go to my room. There's also a few things to see here.
In Paul's room, it seems that any space without antlers is wasted space.
This is the biggest stag my family has ever killed. It weighs 11 kilos, 11.7 kilograms in fact. This is an impala from Namibia. We have a springbok from Namibia, oryx from Namibia, a wildebeest from Namibia, and a warthog. But we also have a red deer from Scotland, and a sika deer from Ireland, chamois from Austria, muntjac from England, elk from Sweden. Many people see these as trophies, or they say that I'm a trophy hunter. But for me, every single horn or antler hanging here is a memory, a story. For me, they're not trophies, they're my history as a hunter. But I only really think of them when I'm looking at the trophy.
Kathleen Knappheide's hunting students are still at least one test away from bagging their own trophies. On today's agenda, weapon theory. The class takes place in the school's outdoor practice area. The students have to pay attention to many details, especially when handling firearms.
Safety must always be guaranteed. So it's a big responsibility. It can be enjoyable, it's certainly fun. It's a good feeling.
Today, the trainer is simulating a drive hunt in the forest with very clearly defined procedures.
The snipe flies towards you. In flight, it's coming right towards you. You have to follow with the shotgun. Take aim and shoot, please. Well done. The snipe fell down. Look, it's over there. Let's go and have a quick look. Have you ever seen a snipe before? Come on, let's have a look. You would have failed the exam now. You've left your stall.
Oh, man. I would have failed.
The hunting license will allow students to acquire and own weapons and to use them for hunting. A great responsibility. Therefore, the examiners are very meticulous when it comes to knowledge about firearms. Mistakes that could put people or animals in danger are treated very seriously.
You're here to learn.
Yeah, we're students.
Yes, you're students. That's why we practice things like this with you. We lead you into situations where you can make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you make them now, it's okay, but they can't happen anymore later on, and you learn from your mistakes.
The brothers Paul and Gerold Reilmann had a successful hunt. They shot a buck and a roe deer, which now have to be cut up.
So, dann brechen wir mal auf.
Now it's time to dress the game. Why don't you get started and I'll put the weapons away.
Die Waffen in den Schrank.
Properly dressing and butchering the game is essential for good quality meat. It must be dressed as soon as possible and the internal organs removed.
Jetzt grad schneide ich den.
I'm about to cut out the rectum here.
Den ziehen wir dann.
I'll pull it out right away.
Für mich ist das jetzt
Like
einfach
that.
nur noch.
To me, this is just food production. There's nothing disgusting about it. It's all part of the process.
Das gehört einfach dazu. war ich auf jeden Fall noch sehr jung, als
I was still very young when my dad showed me how to do it.
Ich hab das
You have to learn it to get your hunting license, I
mit dem
guess.
Jagdschein muss man es dann lernen. sag
But
ich
my
mal.
father taught me
Aber das
much
ist
earlier, and I did it earlier.
viel früher gemacht. Genau.
The buck goes into the cold store. Paul starts preparing an animal that has been hanging for a couple of days for the upcoming barbecue.
Perfekt.
You might think it's a big deal, but here in the village, most people can still do it. You don't have to deal with anti-hunting people at all here in the countryside. I remember when I was at school, at high school, there just wasn't anyone who criticized me for being a hunter.
gab einfach niemanden, der mich dafür kritisiert hat, dass ich Jäger bin, weil einfach jeder hat irgendwie
Because everyone has an uncle or a neighbor or someone who is a hunter.
der Jäger ist und
So it's
dementsprechend
accepted.
akzeptiert. So, das jetzt ist die
Sogenannte Trophäe.
This is now the so-called
Tatsächlich
trophy.
werden wir die abkochen,
We will actually boil it and get it ready to hang on the
fertig machen,
wall.
um sich den an der Wand zu hängen. Keine
Not a
schöne
nice trophy, but rare.
dahin.
The brothers can't imagine life without hunting. On the other side, animal rights activists would like to abolish it.
The first hunting-free areas have already been established in Europe, and you can clearly see that hunters' horror stories about increasing numbers of wild animals and rampant diseases have not proven true. A good example is Luxembourg, where fox hunting has been banned for 8 years now. The population is stable, there are no rampant diseases, everything is in perfect order. And we have a similar example in Switzerland, in the canton of Geneva, where you can see that the populations are stable.
The Hunter brothers do not accept these arguments. Hunting is a way of life. The whole family enjoys the game they shoot and prepare themselves. Beef or pork from the supermarket is rarely found on their plates.
Die Menschen kaufen halt ihre Lebensmittel
People
im
just buy their food in the supermarket and they've forgotten that an animal had to die for it.
Also es ist schon krass,
So
wenn
it's
dich
pretty
Leute
shocking when
halt,
people
auf
criticize you on Instagram for the fact that you
kritisieren
murder.
dafür, dass du so
Murderer is what we're usually called.
Ja, du bist, ja, also Mörder ist halt das, was wir
If they
wie wir
just
meistens
order it from a
bezeichnet werden.
menu and have
Wenn
it
sie einfach
served,
nur das auf einer
well,
Karte
that's fine for
bestellen,
them.
kommen lassen, dann ist das in
But
Ordnung
this
für
job
sie.
that has to be
Aber
done
einfach diesen
first,
Job,
that they
der
pay
vorher
you for
gemacht
with their
wurde,
own
den
money,
sie mit ihrem Geld
if you
bezahlen,
do
wenn
it
man das einfach
yourself,
selber macht,
they say it's not
dann ist
okay.
das nicht in Ordnung. Wenn ich ehrlich bin,
To be honest, I'm living the life I dreamed of as a little boy.
als kleiner Junge so erträumt habe. definitiv.
Definitely.
Also, ich wollte
All I
nur
wanted to
angeln,
do
ich
was
wollte
fish.
nur
All I
jagen.
wanted to do was hunt.
Und wenn's irgendwie geht,
And
wollte
if I
ich dann
could,
auch
I
am
wanted
besten
to
die
travel
ganze
the
Welt
world and
bereisen
hunt as
und dann
well.
auch noch jagen. Und,
I also have no problem saying that I enjoy hunting because I definitely have fun thinking about what I want to hunt today, where I want to go.
Ja, was möchte ich heute jagen?
And
wohin
if
gehe
I
ich hin?
end up with a
Und,
rough plan and
wenn
it
ich
works
am Ende
out,
mir so einen
and I
groben
end up
Plan
with a good
geschmiedet habe und
shot,
der geht dann auf und ich
then
habe
I'm
am Ende
just
einen
happy
Schuss
after the
eingeschlagen,
hunt.
dann bin ich nach einer Jagd einfach glücklich.
And those are
Das sind
special
so
feelings, and I
spezielle
simply can't
Gefühle, sag
compare
ich
them
mal,
with anything else.
Die man mit nichts anderem beschreiben kann.
Humans have hunted for as long as history remembers. What began as survival has become both tradition and trend. For some, it's seen as cruelty to animals, while for others, it's a profession and, above all, a passion. Hunting fascinates and divides. It's a way to bond with nature, even as it alters the world we seek to preserve. As the sun dips below the horizon, the wilderness returns to stillness. The day's pursuit has come to an end, and the hunter's work is done.